G'day, mates. Welcome back to another episode, Alster. We've returned. You've got the long locks flowing this time around. There's no more neat man bun. We're getting messy. We're getting crazy on the Sorare Down on a podcast. I'm on top of the world. I'm winning. Things are great. Sorare is the best platform ever. For you, though, it's basically like a constant panic stations.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm.
It is. Should we
Nicholas
congratulate
Otamendi he could have my kids. He is honestly the best decision, the best purchase I have ever made in my life.
Yeah. Well, let's not remind myself of at the start of this season when I traded my rare Nicholas Otamendi for a Sebastian Coates.
I'm not a smart man.
And we can all see how well that went. Now, Simon, before we go on, the world wants to know your pronunciation of Nicholas Otamendi. Where are you getting Otamendi from? Is there something we don't know that you know specifically? Are you just putting a little bit of a flair on that? Like, talk us through your your dialect when you're pronouncing.
Am I saying Otamendi?
You are, yes. And everyone
Well, I
wants
think
to know
it's because of the
why.
personal connection. Like, you don't understand is what Nicholas and I have. No one else really has what we have. So, like,
That's what he's.
I'm sure, like, I haven't consulted him about it, but I'm sure he'd be fine with me adding a little bit of a flair, adding my own twist. We know how good I am at pronunciations and getting facts correct. So I just stand on that hill, yeah.
I don't understand nothing today.
I love it. So talk us through. You've had a cracker weekend. Apologies for everyone if I sound and look terrible. I'm on the road again. Last week I was in jail. This week I'm on the Sunshine Coast of Australia in an Airbnb. So forgive me for my if I sound terrible. But yes, go on, Simon.
I can't stop
you're
winning.
on the winner's circle again.
I'm not ready for Europe to end because it has honestly changed my life. And look, he was a joke at times last year. He was the butt of all the jokes. He was called Buttery Joe. It was all pretty funny. Mate, Joe Willis, and I've said it again, if you look at his scores, he's the best goalkeeper in the MLS right now. Andre Blake, move aside. He's like 3 out of 5 clean sheets. Even when he has conceded, he's still racking up like 15 to 25 points of AA. Pumped out another 81 on the weekend. I'm loving, honestly, one of the best things Sorare's done is the goalkeeping matrix. Like, I love the fact that your goalkeeper can be like a big, powerful weapon in your lineup now. That's been amazing. Sho Sasaki does show things. He was on for a terrible score. He was doing nothing. And bam, the boy wins a penalty, gets him up to a respectable 71. And then Tom Hay, look, he's no Lucas Del Ryan. He's no 90. But hey, 60 points. You'll take it. That's what he's there for. He's safe. And he makes me feel secure.
Did you say hold me?
No.
And then the biggest purchase of the week was me bringing in Hugo Cypers. I hope I'm saying that right. Goalkeepers. We discussed midweek, is it worth bringing in a guy for 1 week? I didn't feel safe putting Joseph Martinez in my lineup, putting with the big boys. So I pulled the trigger and I brought in Hugo Goalkeepers. And boy, he delivered and some. He's no Burak Yilmaz. He's taken it to a whole nother level, pumping out 2-goal performance and a 5-0 win. 90 points, thank you very much. And now, where all this is all leading to is to the man himself. Nicholas Otamendi. Nicholas Otamendi was playing at 3 a.m. this morning. But guess what, Elster? I went to bed knowing that my game week was on the line. But I slept soundly because I knew that Nicholas has my back. He never lets me down. And what'd he do? A beautiful, nice little 65 to keep me in the good prizes in the ETH. Isn't it nice when you win?
Now, I don't want to get you too excited, but the last couple of weeks, Nicholas Otamendi, his score has consistently been opted up over the last couple of weeks. So there's obviously a bit of a trend of underscoring in the Primera Liga. I know that in the Jupiler League, they're famous for downgrading. You're stoked. Your centre back scored a 75, but sure enough, come the morn, he'll be 58. So, but hopefully the trend continues and Otamendi gets opted up, because I think that would be,
I'm holding on to tier 2 by 3 places, 1 point at the moment. That's not going to stand. But like you said, like I've been checking Sorare data all day, because I know that they love a good little opter. So the fingers are still crossed, the toes are crossed. I mean, he got opted up 6 points when I won that tier 1 just a couple of weeks back. So there's potential. But for you, mate, I don't want to say the apprentice has become the master, but that's the kind of vibe I'm getting.
Look at me, sure. Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
I was once the joke of the podcast. I'm now the good guy, and you suck at Sorare. How's it feel?
Ooh, burn!
Yeah, look, I mean, I've been here before. Sorare is all about, weirdly enough, like Nicola Storm, it's all about form, And I've been through some purple patches, and I've been through some real low patches, and I'm in a slump at the moment. So I guess now is as good a time as any to break some exciting news to you, Simon. Over the weekend, I sold all my rare cards.
What?
What?
You've been holding that one in.
They are
All of them.
gone. All gone.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I sold up on Discord, did a bit of negotiating, got an okay deal. Basically, I had mentioned to you over the course of the last week that I was considering, with the news around the super rare threshold and just generally my kind of feelings, I suppose, as to where things were headed. In terms of supply and demand and things like that. I floated a crazy idea to you, and I've had this crazy idea many times before, which is to focus solely on super rares. And I did it. I pulled the trigger. I tried to sell some players individually, and just no one's buying. So I thought, look, if I can get some instant liquidity, get some ETH in the wallet, and rebuild, now's as good a time as any. So I'm currently in the process of that rebuild. I can talk you through my strategy, but yeah, I don't know whether to be excited or cry my eyes out.
I mean, look, it's either a midlife crisis or it's the move that's going to make you millions. Look, hats off to you. Look, it would take a lot of guts to sell some of those. I mean, some of your rare cards are ridiculous. Like you've got the best of the best. So to say goodbye to those, I mean, you're a fully blue member now. You're a high roller. Some would say a whale.
Stop trying to speak whale.
No, well, I've still got a fair way to go for the whales, but okay. So let me talk you through my thinking. I think it's trending more and more. Obviously there's like lots of issues, and we'll talk about that when we talk about the recent podcast with John and the guys from Sorare. But sentiment is down at the moment. Rares are kind of losing value very quickly. Limiteds are basically down to pennies. I'm confident that they will come back up again at some point. But in the meantime, I think the value lies in the scarcity that super rares provide. And I was struggling to sell my rares in order to try and upgrade some of my super rares. So I thought if I can just get some ETH in the bank and patiently wait for some auctions to roll out and try and buy some high quality super rares, then I can hopefully target All-Star Super Rare, target maybe American Super Rare, and then with the scraps that I win on the scraps that I already have, try and enter that 240 every week and try and grind some threshold, because as we know, that threshold is 300 Australian dollars every week. And if I can be consistently hitting that, then, that's better than, winning a rare.
Well, like if for example, if I want a tier 2 this week and you need a lot to go right, like my lowest scoring player was 60 and I'm going to get a tier 3. You'll have to have the depth, but I guess that's what you're saying is, by just solely focusing on super rares, you're not getting distracted with other things. Like you'll have those depth pieces from the odd tier, 3 super rare that you win. You're not going to put in your best lineup.
That's it. Yeah. So, look, I've made a couple of acquisitions already. So I haven't gone completely super rare. I was thinking about it, and I thought All-Star Rare Pro is still the way to go. Like, that is still the best. Hold your horses. Put those horses back in. So, well, I think All-Star Rare Pro is still the best competition on the platform. You can still win the best cards there. So I thought it would be silly not to have a one team rolling out in that. That still leaves me plenty of ETH to roll out some really good super rare teams. I realised that there's not that many tournaments you can enter with just super rares. You really just limit. I mean, you've got your regions, but yeah. So basically, what I've done is I've stuck with my favourite goalkeeper of all time, Lars Onestall. I've picked him up on auction for 0.32, which I think is a crazy price. So this is back to the other thing. Yes, technically I sold at the bottom, but I'm also buying back in at the bottom, and there are some super rares going at the moment for just ridiculous prices. Obviously, the big superstars are still going for a lot, and the secondary market is still a nightmare, but if you've got patience, there's some real bargains to be had on the auction front. So I've stuck with an FC20 rare component. So they've got just an unbelievable run of fixtures to end the season. I think it's like 7 of their last 8 games are against the last 6 or 7 teams in the league. So I've gone Anastol in goals. I've gone Zaruki, who's a bit of a gun AA midfielder for them. And I mean, it's just a rumor, but there is a rumor that he could be headed to Ajax next year, in which case, bingo, bango, bongo. And I've also picked up their striker, Vaclav Cherny, who, high AA scoring forward. He's been scoring goals. He's coming up against weak competition. So I thought, let's put all my eggs in the 20 basket and then pair them with some really solid super rares. I've already got Sho Sasaki. We know what he can do. He's the god amongst men. And my first auction purchase was your boy, Kieran Trippier. Okay. So Kieran Trippier was someone that I was looking to buy a couple of months ago in rare. And the asking price for a Kieran Trippier rare back then was 1.4 ETH. That was a couple of months ago. Obviously, it's fallen down since. How much do you think I got his?
I mean, he's been crushing it. Oh, he has to be an ETH, right? What? 1.4?
Yeah. 1.4. And I put a bid on, and I thought he won't go for 1.4. Like, he had a few orange scores because he's been playing for England, but he's been scoring hundreds, every other week. Put a little bid in. No one else bid. Picked him up, so now I'm the proud owner of Kieran Trippier. And then he went out immediately and scored 100. So, so very happy with that purchase. So, running my Sasaki and Trippier alongside the 20 boys in All-Star Rare Pro. So, really going to try and focus on just having some quality in there. Really smash that for the next 8 weeks while 20 is still playing, and then hopefully still run them out next season. And then in my super rares, I haven't made any purchases other than I picked up a Turkish goalkeeper. I snap bought him, actually. There was a guy, Mohamed Sengiza, who has been permanently on the bench for Başakşehir. He's like 28 years old. He's been on the bench. The number one keeper is this old guy, and every week he's making mistakes. He's, error led to goal. Everyone's calling for him out, get him out, get this young guy in. And they've been saying that for 6 months. I see them drop a team sheet. Senghese is the number one. Babakan, the original keeper, is on the bench. I saw one listed for 0.56, I think it was. Bang, snapped him up, super rare goalkeeper in the bank. So I've made 3 purchases, actually. I also picked up a Pablo Ruiz for 0.3. So I do feel like he can turn it around, even though Real Salt Lake are terrible. So, look, I'm saying a lot of words. I'm sorry, but
look, you're
it's
excited. You're up and about, and I feel like it's rejuvenated the Sorare Owner podcast. I'm excited now. You're a Kieran Trippier super rare owner. We're talking about You know what you always used to say, like, "Oh, I own a Carlos Hill," and everyone's like, "Oh, who's that?" That's a flex, being like, I have the NFT of Kieran Trippier. And correct me if I'm wrong, Alistair. Kieran Trippier is also the same guy that you sold his rare. Isn't that right? You sold his rare for about 0.1, and then it got up to 1.4. Is that the same guy?
The title of this week's video is When It Hurts Too Much to Live.
Yeah, so I feel like this is a bit of a redemption story.
I thought for a second you were going to say you
full
bought
circle.
Jack Price. I know you tried to get him last year. Talk about dodging a bullet there. Poor little Jack Price.
Yes, no. So, hopefully that's a sign of things to come. I'm still planning it out. I have put in about 12 offers over the last 48 hours, which I have promptly cancelled about 3 seconds after putting them in, just because I have to tell myself to be patient, wait for the auctions to come. No one has any joy trying to buy super rares on the secondary market.
Gonna have a bad time.
A couple of the buy lows that I had highlighted from previous weeks, I tried to pick up some of them. Unfortunately, the train has left the station. They're already selling high. Jean Motor is one that I tried to pick up cheaply. Couldn't get onto him. Who's the other one? Julian Dessart. Both super rares that I would love to have, but unfortunately people have been listening to the podcast and have cranked up the prices of their super rares. So watch this space. This time next week, hopefully I'll have a few more super rares in the bank and I'll have a bit more of an idea of what my strategy will be. But
you're a blue boy.
Yeah,
you can come join me
I'm a
over at the
blue boy.
winners table because, I'm sure that this winning streak for me is going to continue forever.
No, not this time. It's totally made up. Pure fiction. It's fiction.
So it'll be nice for you to join me over here. Just
it's gonna take some getting used to because I'm used to rolling out 10, 11, 12 teams a week, and now it's going to be greatly reduced. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully with the fact that I'm up against less people, I can be at least constantly churning out some tier 4s, tier 5s with the occasional tier 2, tier 3 thrown in. And my medium to long-term strategy is the super rares that I win. If I don't need them, I'm hoping that I can try and trade them for some rares and start to slowly build up a rare collection again, kind of work a trickle-down kind of strategy. Start at the top and work my way down as opposed to trying to go up as I have been for the last
I love it. All right, well, I think it's time to discuss the main reason where we're getting in front of the cameras, or in your case, behind whatever pixelated thing you call a camera there. Yeah.
Looks like this is that porn couch.
I love how your setup's getting weirder and weirder every week. Like last week it was the jail cell. And then you're on the couch. Obviously the John Nellis podcast, I'm sure most people would have listened to it by now. Big Johnny boy keeps kicking goals. How far he's come.
Really is. I saw his. I don't know if you saw his video where he went to the El Clasico and was running around doing all kinds of cheesy things for the camera. But then he went to the Bayern versus Dortmund game. Like he's obviously Sorare obviously looking after.
Yeah, he's in a pretty good position. Obviously had Dan and Aalok on the show to sort of discuss it. And look, it was pretty cool. Like that, to have a bit of transparency, sort of explain sort of the roadmap, and as well as taking some accountability for what's sort of transpired over the past couple of months. It's obviously been a really hostile, and I know you've harped on a lot about just the negativity that we're seeing online. So to see those guys come out, answer a few of the public's questions, I thought was a really good thing.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's obviously a bunch of people on Twitter that took a bunch of negatives out of it, but I think I've cracked it, Simon. I think I've realised that these people are either just bots or they're just trying to. I think someone mentioned the other day that their For You section on Twitter is just full of negative stuff because that's what the algorithm seems to feed you. And I think people have realised that if they just get on Twitter and whinge about Sorare, that they get lots of engagement, they get lots of eyeballs. So I think people are just doing it for attention now because I couldn't find couldn't find too much in the conversation that I thought was negative or that worried me. How about you? How about yourself? You're a bit more of a skeptic. You're a bit more pessimistic.
I thought it was good. I thought there was a
think?
lot of positive things to come out of the chat. I like, and again, like I do understand the fact that they can't discuss everything. Like I wouldn't expect that. Although we have seen in the past where they're saying, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to roll this out, and then that hasn't eventuated. The goalposts keep changing. So I think that the chat, it sort of clarified a few things, like especially in the past couple of weeks where we've seen just change after change sort of coming out of nowhere. It sort of added a bit of like, they sort of explain why and the direction that they're looking to head, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a couple of things they mentioned in their roadmap. I thought, are they maybe taking on a little bit too much? Like, are they trying to do too much? Are they going to cause more issues by constantly changing things in order to try and fix the current market situation? But I don't know. Were there any things in particular that you're excited about? Or that
and we knew this day would come, but obviously the SO coins, as they called them, you knew I would bring this up.
Did you just turn it off as soon as they said
blocks the podcast?
Go on.
But look, a little bit of for those that have listened to previous episodes, I was a big hater of the SO coins. I thought it was the most useless thing ever. They had a bit of clarification for why these are there, the role that they're going to play. The most interesting one I want to get your thoughts of is the burn mechanism. If you can sort of explain what that means. I think I know what it means in terms of like you can trade out a rubbish tier 5 for SO coins, which you can use to get something else, something like that.
Yeah, it'll be, and I think they were wise to kind of say that they're, just in the very early stages of. Oh, hello. You want to come on the podcast? Come on. Okay.
He's so fluffy, I'm gonna die.
He's out to just bring a cute dog.
Hello there. This is what people will be tuning in for. Where was I? Oh, yes, the burn. I think the way that it's going to work is, essentially, it's kind of like a progress bar. As you acquire cards, as you acquire coins, you can burn those in exchange for other things. And I guess the flow-on effect from that is that it will, reduce that supply. And obviously the supply and demand is the thing that everyone's so worried about at the moment. All right, be free. So I think it could be good. I just hope that they tread carefully, because if all of a sudden everyone's burning cards to get other cards, then it kind of could have a bit of a, they've done all this stuff to make lower tier cards, valuable, the cap modes and all that kind of stuff. All of a sudden that tier 5 you win, you might be able to use next week because he's got a low L15. Like, it actually provides some value for these shit cards. As you know so well, you almost had to buy an Austrian jersey. We'll talk about this in a second, but Thurston, big Thurston, you were all aboard the hate train of Thurston last week when you won him.
Just for those that aren't aware, last week I won a tier 4? Tier 3? Tier 4. And it was a 31-year-old Austrian who comes off the bench for 20 minutes every week. Mind you, does actually score really well off the bench. And anyway, I was whinging about the fact that I got a 31-year-old Austrian worth 0.01 for a tier 4. And yes, look, he came out and he helped me hit threshold. And so did my tier 5 from 2 weeks earlier. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Please continue.
So that's a good use case for how the cap modes are working the way they intended to. And I just worry that if they introduce a burn mechanism and it's too... They need to make sure they balance the kind of risk versus reward of burning the card. Because if they're just like, look, burn these cards and you get something amazing, then everyone's just going to do that. And all of a sudden it kind of disrupts the gentle ecosystem of Sorare, which I'm sure they'll have I would hope that they would hire some game economists to help them work out how they're going to do it, because it needs to be a thing of I can get this, but it means I have to do this. It has to be a bit of a Sophie's choice kind of situation. Which of my children do I save? Is it the 30 tier 4s in order to get this?
Yeah, and I don't want to go too off track, but sort of what you were sort of touching on there with the changes, have we seen a negative impact on the platform because of some of the changes? For example, they brought in limiteds to make it more accessible for people to come onto the platform, but then we've seen that have a massive negative swing in the fact that there's too many cards.
Well, no, I think on that front, I mean, the rares and super rares, that it doesn't really explain why their value has gone down, because
more people are buying limiteds instead of buying rares.
That's true. That's true. People can come in and play for $100 instead of spending big bucks to. But that's where they have brought in things like the ETH prizes and things like that, and the thresholds for those people to dangle that carrot for people to actually make.
Yeah, I'm just going off the fact that when you sort of said that, one of your takeaways from the podcast was, are they trying to do too much? And that's just something that springs to mind for me of they're outlining all these potential new changes that they might bring in to rectify the current issues, but then is that just going to create more issues in the future?
Yeah. Short answer is yes, that could happen. I just hope they do it properly, and I think from what he was saying that they're not just going to roll it out next week. They're just seriously exploring the idea, because it would, in theory, it would help with supply, because it would reduce supply, and therefore demand will go up. But if everyone's burning cards, then all of a sudden you have the opposite problem, and there's not enough cards. And then all of a sudden, people like to hate on the whales, but if the whales hold all the good cards and all the other cards have been burnt, the balance could tip. So I don't really understand the economics of it all, but I think if they do it,
yeah, I think so.
Right,
and I think they sort of touched on, even if you're burning a card, not necessarily to get another card, but get Coins, which you can then use to put towards getting a jersey or whatever one of those more real life experiences, because that was one of the big takeaways, and sort of John touched on as well, was the fact that what he likes about the platform is that real world element. And obviously he's having the best time ever running around going to sports stadiums all paid for by Sorare. So of course he's loving it. And that's something we've touched on as well. How good would it be if we can sort of merge those two worlds? There's so much opportunity for that, to sort of make those more worldly experiences like jerseys and things like that. And if I can get rid of my Thurston from Austria for 0.01, burn that and help me buy a Portland Timbers jersey, I'll do that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you've come around on the Sorare shop, and I think you touched on probably the biggest thing that they said in that podcast for me was that they want that to be why people play. They don't want people to be, winning cards is obviously great, but they want people to be excited about winning coins. And you mentioned the issue of people just coming on board and playing the free game or playing limiteds. If all of a sudden coins are the thing that everyone wants because what you can buy with them is so cool, and then they dangle the carrot of, okay, come and play rare, come and play super rare. Not only can you win more ETH, and not only can you win better cards, you can also win more coins. So you can more quickly get to that, free stadium tour of, or whatever.
Well, mate, the worst thing is that if you and I won an experience, because we don't have the A-League, if our experience be tour around Amy Park, and be like, oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, maybe who knows? Maybe we'll be able to link our frequent flyer program to our Coins, and if we win those tickets to go and see El Clasico, we can put some of our frequent flyer miles to use, and we can fly over there and watch it. Otherwise, we're pretty much screwed. So, but yeah, I think if we, a couple of weeks ago we talked about where can Sorare be in 5 years. If they get to a point where everyone's playing because these Sorare coins are so valuable, and it's just such an amazing way to do cool things and win cool rewards. I can really see that being the thing that takes Sorare to the moon. Because this is the progress bar. You know, they promised the progress bar years ago. This is it. Like, if you can say to your mate, "Oh, you play this game each week, you can win ETH and you can win NFTs. You keep your cards. You don't lose them at the end of the season. You actually own the assets. You get to watch your team play in real time. You're getting this fantasy game, and you know, throughout the course of the year, you earn these coins where you can use them to go and watch games and win tickets and jerseys and stuff. Like, it's just such an amazing proposition, you know, and that's where I can see that growth going from where it is at the moment, which is kind of stagnating a little bit, to just like, you know, we talk about 1 million users.
Yeah, and I mean, even just you outlining all the pros of Sorare, we always go on about the cons and, you know, oh, I'm not getting good rewards, all these little things we get caught up on. And the reason why you and I both believe in the product is you look at the product, strip it back to that. And you're pitching this, you're selling this. This is the product. If they can iron out those little issues, I mean, it's a bloody incredible product. Like, there's a reason. Like, I think you said previously, everyone that you know that's played Sorare, like been introduced to Sorare, has ended up falling in love with it. Like,
they become addicted, and then I think they end up hating me for it. But they do become addicted. You know, I've led so many of my friends into financial ruin because they've jumped on board Sorare in the last 7 or 8 months and watched it just go in terms of the value of everything. But I think, again, comes back to what we say every week. Long term, if you're a believer, you know, we're in the money, and we're still so early to this. And you know, me moving to super rares, really the thing that kind of pushed me over the edge was like, I believe in Sorare long term, and if I've got high quality super rares, especially if I can pick up some super rares of young players, they're going to be around for 4 or 5 years at least. You know, come that 1 million user mark, if I've got some of the rarest cards on the platform, I basically will be able to buy the
maybe
entire
you
country
can
of Australia.
pay for the A-League license. Not me.
I got this one, guys. Don't worry. Let me burn my Trippier, and I'll burn that for the A-League license.
Seriously though, like, man, he's back. I love that Breezy is now making an appearance on the Sorare Down podcast.
Oh yeah, for those people who didn't know, my Sorare alias is Breezy. Basically,
which is as cool as it sounds. Anyway, so the other thing that they touched on is sort of like basing Sorare and using the So Coins is around that sort of squad building challenge aspect of FIFA. Now, I'm not sure how familiar you are with FIFA, but that was always a great element of like, I've got these leftover cards that I'm not going to use in my teams. How can I then you put them into a squad building challenge, trying to fit them under a certain cap or whatever it is, fitting them in through nationality, things like that. And I think that's a really cool element as well. Of like, if you've got these leftover guys, which we've sort of seen in the 270 already and 240, etc. But I think that's something really cool where if you could then compete that against friends, and again, like making it more of a social rather than just everyone out against each other trying to beat each other on the rankings. You know, if you and I got to go against each other, or you bring some friends on and play.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I mean, I haven't really participated in the kind of squad building side of FIFA. I'm still like a FIFA 14 guy. So it's been a while since I've played. But yeah, I do like that idea of, okay, this week's challenge is if you can buy 10 Welsh players, you know, then you can burn them for a great card or some ETH or So Coins. I think that's really cool. I do worry a little bit about like what effect that's going to have if all of a sudden, like, you know, you need these 10 players, and yes, it'll probably stimulate some market activity because if you've got one of those players and everyone needs it, then you can charge what you want. But I just wonder what kind of effect that will have on the economy if all of a sudden it doesn't become about buying players that are valuable in the game. It becomes about buying players to, complete a collection. I guess that's a positive thing, but I just worry, like, don't mess with the game too much. The game is so good. I don't want to.
Yeah, don't overcomplicate
dilute
it. If it
too
ain't broke,
much.
don't fix it. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people do think it is broke, but I'm one of the rare people who think the game is like better than
And also,
it ever
like,
has been.
on that as well, how good does it look? Like, I'm not normally one who cares about the small details. You look up like a player on Sorare now, like how clean and like their little bio coming up and their XP like ranking, like it looks really cool. Like what they've worked on their web design, I'm a big fan of. And like just little things like that, I think are really cool. Yeah, I sort of understand that, like what you're coming from, but all I'm sort of thinking of is if you can do it in a way where, like FIFA, it just sort of bring the community together a little bit because of the rankings and everyone's against each other. It's a very like solo thing.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, maybe you could I think there's lots of different things you could do. Maybe you could make like little teams where it's like you, me, and 3 of our mates, and we go in and all of our points get pulled together. I don't know. There's so many different cool things they could do. Different leagues where people complain about the whales. It's like have a whales league where if your gallery is over this value, then you can compete. Whereas if you're not up to that value, then you've got to compete in the second division. Have people play against people of similar gallery sizes. I think that could be really fun. So yeah, I think there's lots of.
And at the end of the day,
things
whatever they
could
do,
be
whatever
done.
tweaks they make, as soon as because there's money involved, people are going to work out a way to cheat the system. So if you do an SBC kind of style thing, at the end of the day, people will work out loopholes. They'll work ways around it to not do what you intended to do.
Yeah, that's right. I liked the fact that they kind of acknowledged that a loan system is something they need to introduce because, obviously you and I are brothers. I've helped you out every now and then, sent you a card when you're in dire need. And I'm sure that when they accidentally banned you a couple of weeks ago, you probably thought that, those couple of loans would come back to bite you in the
Over.
ass.
The dream's over.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it necessarily creates a competitive advantage, but as long as they've got some rules around it, I think that's a really positive thing because, you should be able to help your mates out if they need a keeper for the weekend,
And absolutely, and you want to build that
definitely
Sorare
a good
community as
thing.
well. And I think that's something they they touched on was that look, they know it's happening, and if it's always going to happen, they're not going to be able to stop it. So why not take more ownership of that and put it into a more controlled, ruled environment, if that makes sense. Which I think, like there's no point being like,
absolutely.
don't do loaning because, and this is sort of same with the multi-accounting. Like people, again, they're going to work ways around it. They're going to just having a more set and forget kind of set of rules and just stick by that rather than having this gray area. Because that's what it seems like at the moment. Like the rules and the goalposts are always sort of changing. You don't know what's allowed, what's not allowed.
I mean, it's certainly not as profitable to multi-account as it used to be because it used to be that people would just set up 20 accounts and then they would just play All-Star Rare and hit that threshold every week and just be farming that ETH. Whereas now with the cap mode, you really got to kind of, if you want to run 10 accounts, good luck. It's probably not, the juice might not be worth the squeeze. So, but I'm sure there's still people doing it for sure.
Yeah. And then another thing that John sort of touched on was world rankings. Is that something that sort of interests you? He sort of said about how in Fantasy Premier League, if you're in the top 1,000, that is a good bragging rights with mates. But I just don't think we're at that level yet because it's not as mainstream. Like if I go, I'm in the top 400 managers in Sorare, everyone's like, what?
Yeah. I guess it comes back to what you just said about at the moment. It's very much a solo game. You're on your own. You're up against everyone. personally, the Global Cup was like, we had a little league running with some friends, but it really wasn't.
It sucked.
No
man.
one really cared about it, did they?
I did it because I didn't want to say no. I was like, this is the worst.
Yeah. It was, it just doesn't have the same. I think you got to have some skin in the game, and I don't think the Global Cup had that. I didn't really care how my teams went, and as soon as the first week happened and I was 38,000th, I was like, well, that's that over then. I'm sure it was exciting for the people who were in the running to win, but yeah. So I think the leagues thing has never really got me that excited. But
is there anything else from the pod that sparked your interest? Anything that I haven't brought up yet? Or have I covered all bases?
I can't believe they didn't announce the A-League. That was, come on.
Yeah.
Can somebody please tell me when is A-League?
Guys, perfect opportunity to just look. We've got 3 games left in the season. Let's go. Let's launch it.
Yeah.
No, apart from that, they announced the double game week rule, which is pretty cool. A lot of people in the K-League community immediately pointed out that it doesn't really matter because when the scores are 48 hours delayed, you're going to lose. You're not going to get one of those games scored anyway. So,
Well, that was pointless.
On paper, it's like, oh, great. Well, now K-League cards are, if anything, more powerful because you've got these double game weeks where you can play best ball every week, but not every one of them doesn't get scored. So, but I think they are, and a lot of people were like, oh, they haven't even fixed the K-League issue. It's like they can't fix the K-League issue. It's completely up to Opta. It sounds like they're trying to work with Opta to get it back to what it was. And if they can convince Opta to go back to normal and they've got this new double game week rule, then, stock up on your Sesenias, baby. If you like random DMPs that ruin your weekend.
Yeah, probably they didn't. I mean, I guess it's all they can. It's all they can say. But they were like John was like, "Oh, what's the go with Japan?" And they're just like, "Oh, well, I don't know."
I'm glad you brought that up. It was a very interesting point that they said it's not actually really about the money. Like, it's not that we can't reach a deal with them. It's that there's other things that we're trying to get from them that we can't quite agree on. And that is very exciting. That tells me that, they want to get fan experiences. They want to get jerseys. They want to get game day experiences, and maybe the J League are being a little bit funny about exactly how that will work. So that was actually quite exciting to me that the reason it hasn't been renewed is because they're going for something different than what they had been doing previously. It wasn't just like, we'll sell your NFTs. It's like, so I think
that's probably why the A-League's delayed, mate. Like, I think they're probably A-League saying, we want you to be, get Sorare Down Under podcast to commentate every game. We want NFTs on the field, NFTs given away as prizes on the stadium. I'm sure that's why the breakdown of negotiations has happened.
I mean, are you ready to quit your job, Simon, to become the official Sorare ambassador for the A-League when it happens?
Move over, John. It'll be me running around making stupid videos at Amy Park and Suncorp Stadium.
We love you, John. You're kicking goals, mate.
It was great. It was a great podcast. I thought it was, when you sort of mentioned something to discuss on the pod, I thought it was great because it's something we've had a lot of fears over. There's been a lot of chat. And I thought it was just a nice little moment of transparency, just to keep everyone calm and just remember why we're all here. We're all here to have fun.
Times like this when I just want to throw my hands up and say, let's take drugs and go crazy.
What's your, give me how's your mood ring looking at the moment? Last week you sent me a text, in tears, I think, because your Sebastian Druisi card had fallen to 0.5 ETH, and you basically said, Sorare is dead. I'm crying in my bed. I've been crying for hours, So how are you feeling now? Do you feel more positive? Do you feel like Sorare is going to survive? Do you feel like you're going to financially recover from this?
Look, all cards on the table. I don't think I will financially recover from this.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
but honestly, but I do. A little bit of optimism. I think there was a real crazy moment there for a while, but I think I'm now just in. I mean, it helps when you win, but I'm enjoying the product of what it is, and just trying to not be too off put by the change in prices and all that sort of stuff. Because, like I always said, if in 6 months' time all those prices jump back up, if I haven't sold those guys at the bottom, then it doesn't affect me. So.
That's it. It only who would sell at the bottom? That's ridiculous.
Who would sell all of their best cards and then try and make? Yeah. Anyway, that's awkward.
It's okay if you buy back in. It's okay if you buy back in at the bottom. That's what I keep telling myself. It's all going to be fine. I haven't just completely ruined my gallery forever.
It's good. It's good that the panic stations have started for you, and you've been about 2 days into this new adventure. So that's great.
Surprisingly calm, but there might be a few sleepless nights ahead. That's the thing that as soon as like Trippier goes down with an ankle injury, I'm just going to be like, what have I done? I've got no depth.
I don't want to add fuel to the fire, but just look how well your Sinjin hose worked out. Super rares are great, mate.
Yeah, look, it's Sorare's a real a pay to win platform, and you pay the big bucks for the best players, and you'll. It's funny. I've been like planning my gallery for the next couple of months, and Sinjin hasn't been in any of my teams. I have zero confidence in him, which is just the saddest thing ever, considering he's the most expensive player I've ever bought on the platform. So until he starts, getting his act into gear, he's reserved and
big things come
on the bench.
I believe in him. I reckon he can bounce back. He just needs to find his footing.
Yeah, I think so. I've been watching his games, weirdly enough, and he seems like you can tell he's just way better than everyone else. But it's kind of like he's rocked up to Div 3, and he's just happily sitting back and just, pinging balls around. He's not actively trying to get on the ball and get in the box. He's just like, yep, give it to me. I'll do like an incredible pass. But he's very much playing from the back, not really putting that effort in. So I think maybe he might be just kind of like winding down the clock till retirement, which is what happens when you buy a 33-year-old,
I was going to say,
34-year-old
it's interesting that you're like, I cannot believe that this guy in the K-League who's 33 years old, he's just looking to finish out his playing career. He's just looking to enjoy his football. What do you mean? He's a 33-year-old Korean playing in the K-League, and he's not actively trying to make a World Cup roster. I'm shocked, mate. I'm shocked.
Just ain't got that hunger. He ain't got that dog in him. He ain't got that drive.
I also don't get it, mate. Gonzalo Higuain, he's moved into Miami, and he's not putting the effort. I don't get it, man. It sucks.
Gonzalo, run! Yeah, looking back, probably not.
Probably could have seen that one coming. But anyway, we move on.
It's just that.
Yeah.
Anyway, we won't talk about it anymore. All right, look, I think we're just about run out of time. But yeah, I think overall positive. I'm glad to hear you think it was positive as well. I know you're, definitely the more skeptical of the two of us. Dry those eyes.
Red of the moon as always.
Right.
We love it. All right, mate. Best of luck for the weekend. Look, I'm sure it'll be nothing but sunshine and rainbows for your new super rare boys. I can't wait to see them rolled out. This is exciting. Big things coming.
Me too. All right, I better go. There's a guy here who's going to give me $50 to suck some guy off, so I'll see you in a bit.
All right. Yeah.
Keep that in. Bleep it. Throwback to the start of the episode if anyone's tuning in.
All right,
now.
look, best of luck, mate. We'll catch you on next week, and all the best.
All right, see you, mates.